The average new car price has ballooned to over $50,000, and there's a company who thinks they can do something to help potential buyers. Welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and I'm here with the Slate Truck. This is an all-new, all-electric vehicle. It's a truck or an SUV, depending on how you choose to purchase it. And Slate invited me out here in Washington, D.C. to see one of the prototypes that they are running around the country. So let's take a quick tour, run through the specs and what they've announced so far, and I'll even show you some of the interior because they are letting me sit in it. So with all that, let's get going. So what even is this thing? Well, it is all electric, like I mentioned. It is going to be rear-wheel drive, and the whole point of this is that it's coming in at a low starting point. Slate is saying low to mid $20,000 range, which is going to be really, really fantastic. Now, the whole point behind this is that it's very customizable. They give you a blank slate that comes only in gray. You'll notice this one's black, so more on that in a second. But it comes only in gray, it comes as a pickup truck, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of accessories that will let you turn this thing into whatever you want. Now, all of them are going to have the same basic premise underneath for the mechanicals, and then everything that you would customize, whether you do it at home or have a shop do it, or have your Slate dealer, store, whatever they're calling it, do it, that's all going to be up to you. So mechanically, this thing is going to be rear-wheel drive, single motor, and it's going to make about 200 horsepower and about 200 pound-feet of torque. Now, this is fairly small. More on that when we get inside of it. This is going to be shorter than a Ford Maverick, for example, so this is truly pretty tiny. And then battery range-wise, you have two batteries. The first battery that's going to be the standard option will give you about 150 miles of range. The bigger one will give you about 240. So this will be a little bit more of an around-town car than a long road trip car, just from the size of it and the battery range and all that. But if you are looking for something like that, I think it could be a good option. Now, there's no official partnership yet with Tesla for the sake of working at superchargers, but this is a prototype that does have a NACS charging port, so that's going to be that new standard. And frankly, given that all these other manufacturers are moving to using the NACS charging port, I think it's smart to have that implemented here as well. Now, this is tiny, like I mentioned, so your towing and payload are going to be pretty small. That's going to be 1,400 pounds of payload and 1,000 pounds of towing. You're not going to be doing a lot of towing with this thing. That's not the point of the car. Now, 1,400 pounds of payload is pretty good, but it needs to be that high because this can seat more than two people if you turn it into an SUV. You'll see this one has the SUV kit on it. There's two of those kits available, and these are going to be flat pack kits that you can apparently install at home if you're really that ambitious. It's going to have the roll bars here. It's going to have a set of seats for the back and seat belts and everything else you need, and even side curtain airbags. So that, I think, is pretty impressive if they can really pull it off. Now, let me show you the interior because this is, like I said, basic. And then beyond that, I'm gonna very carefully close that door. Beyond that, as we look at the rest of the interior, it's going to be basic in here. Starting with the fact that you have crank windows. A lot has been mentioned about the fact that you have a hand-cranked window, and frankly, I'm kind of okay with that. It's really not so big in here that lowering the second one by hand, leaning over, is a really huge deal. Will all of you care? Don't know. Let me know in the comments. Now, this one does have cruise control. Those are switches mounted on the steering wheel, and it's got a kind of integrated wiper and turn signal and headlight stalk going on the left. Your shifter will be on the right, and this is a pretty traditional EV type shifter that we've seen where you just have your foot on the brake and go up for reverse, down for drive, and there's a button for park. Now, there's going to be a small gauge cluster screen in front of the driver that's going to show basic information like your range, your speed, that sort of thing. But otherwise, there are no screens in here, which I'm actually quite a fan of. Their whole point with this car is to just let you bring what you want to it. And that includes just giving you a phone holder, which you can also replace with a tablet holder if you want something like an iPad for infotainment. But there's just a phone holder over here to the right of the steering wheel with a built-in USB-C port at the bottom, so you can drop your phone in, and that's that. You can add accessories, but from what I understand, this doesn't even come with speakers. So you can add a speaker kit if you would like it. But if you don't want all that and you just want a really, really basic transportation appliance, you can have that as well. And then looking further down, you've got just 3 dials for climate control, which I am a fan of. Again, keep it simple, keep it easy. There's no dual zone, there's no nothing like that, and it's not even automatic. It's just a twist dial for the sake of the fan speed. Fine. Air conditioning is standard. They're not trying to make this a penalty box. They're just trying to give you a good starting point, a blank slate, if you will. Now, the dashboard is pretty simple. All of this can be customized if you really want it, but otherwise, It's going to be pretty simple in here. There's a few buttons down here, and of course these are made up buttons for right now, but this is probably what it'll be, to figure out your gauge cluster lighting, your traction control, and a third button for your frunk, because this does have a front trunk. It does have a decent amount of space, so even if you convert this to an SUV and you've got the second row of seats, you will have extra storage up front. Otherwise, even with the truck bed, it's going to be lockable, secure storage. And there is a drain plug, so if you're feeling particularly Ford Mach-E one day, you are welcome to fill the frunk with ice and shrimp or whatever. In any case, let's hop into the back seat and see what that looks like. And then from the back seat, I'm actually impressed with how much space there is back here. Like I said, this is smaller than a Maverick, and I think I have more backseat room than in said Maverick. I've got the front seat still adjusted for my driving height, my driving position, and I've got a lot of leg room, a lot of knee room. There is a built-in armrest here with a couple cup holders on the left side, and this bench does have room, in theory, for 3 people. 2 are going to be much more comfortable. Now, obviously, if you want, you will have your roof and you'll have your side windows, but you can run this open air like this if you live somewhere like Southern California where it's just perfect all year round. If you live somewhere like here in DC where it's not perfect, you'll probably want the windows on. But in any case, it's not super fancy back here, but there's 2 cup holders on either side, and there's plenty of space. And then these do still appear to tilt, so you can put them flat or remove the bench entirely, of course, if you want more hauling space. Now, this is all kind of interesting because by default, right about here where the cab ends, this is where that cab wall will be and the truck bed starts. But this whole kit means that wall comes out, and if you want to have the whole roof on the truck, the rear cab wall is actually going to be part of the very back of the truck. So kind of a neat design. And of course, prototype, that could all change. But in any case, this is cool. There's plenty of space back here. And let me show you the cargo area. And then looking back here at the cargo area, of course, this is going to be set up right now for an event that they're putting on, so it's kind of a faux tailgate setup. But you're going to have a couple options back here for what you do if you have this set up as an SUV. There's 2 different body kits. So the first one is going to have a more sloped fastback roofline that kind of mirrors this rollover cage. The other one is going to be a more traditional squared off back end, so that will give you a little more cargo space just for having the height here. But either way, I think just from kind of here forward, you're going to have enough room to have 3 or 4 rollerboard bags. So if you're looking to get away to like a weekend trip, you could probably do it with 3 people and their stuff, maybe with 4, depending on how heavy you all pack. If you turn this back into a pickup truck, you've got most of this be bed space. So that is that. And you know, the whole point of this truck is that you can customize whatever you want, from the wraps to the body that you can allegedly build at home to everything inside. So, you know, what I'm curious about, this is not going to be $25,000 for most buyers. You're going to end up putting probably $5,000 to $7,000 of stuff on it if you want more creature comforts or the SUV kit or whatever. So are you still interested, or are you interested only at that base price? I think that's a really key question there. And even when you are going to build it up, you know, looking at the alternatives, are you into this because it's different and quirky and fun and a nice, simple vehicle, or do you want something that just by default has a little more going on? I'm really appreciative of what Slate is doing to try and keep prices down, and really, even if you end up putting $5,000 onto this and it's 30 grand, what can you get of similar utility for $30,000? Yes, you can get, you know, something like a small sedan, for example, but it's not going to be the same level of utility. So just interesting to think about. Obviously, a lot of this can change between when these go on sale and where we are now with prototypes, but really appreciate Slate inviting me out to check out their latest with this and get some interior poke around time. Really intriguing, if nothing else. And I'm really excited to see where they can go with this. Obviously, we're in pretty early stages. I think they just finished all their like crash testing and that sort of stuff. So there's a little bit of time to go. They've got the plant where they're producing these in Indiana starting up soon for getting built out. So we're getting closer to a launch time, but they're not, you know, they're not rushing this necessarily. So excited to see where things go, excited to get to the point where we can actually drive these and see the final production intent models. In the meantime, let me know in the comments what you think of this. Would you be interested in one, or are you looking for something that's completely different? In any case, thank you so much for coming along. Thank you to Slate for having me out on this early morning before they let the public back into this venue here. And be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.